You're a 168 fighter. And I know it sounds crazy, but if he were to like turn around and be like, hey, yeah, I'll fight David.
Yeah, I'll be dope. I have a lot of respect for Terence Crawford. Yeah. And just because I want to fight, if we would fight, doesn't mean we have hard feelings for each other. He's definitely a great fighter. I'd love to fight him.
I need to get, I would love to get it. I just don't think it would come up. Well, I mean, I'm not even at 168 no more.
Right.
But I mean, I would love to try to fight Crawford, or even spar. I would love to spar Crawford.
When you see a tweet that says, hey, can you make 168, David, from Turkey? Can he still make 168? You seeing him now training at second fight at 175?
Yeah, I think he's super young still. I think definitely, I don't think, it would be a little bit hard, but I think he could definitely do 168. We didn't move to 175 because of the weight. We moved because of the
The next big fight people are buzzing about is Terence Crawford versus David Benavidez. And now it feels more serious than ever, as Jose Benavidez Sr. has confirmed that David is willing to move back down to 168 pounds to make this fight possible.
I think referring to maybe if David could go and fight Crawford, like, that's crazy.
To be honest, that would be even an embarrassment to me to say, David's too big for Crawford. Now who said that, I don't think, it would be a little bit hard, but I think he could definitely do 168. We didn't move to 175 because of the weight. We moved because...
It won't be easy for David, but it's definitely doable since his move up to 175 wasn't because he couldn't make weight. It was about going after bigger opportunities. And as we've seen before, when big money offers come in from figures like Turki Al-Sheikh, fighters always seem to find a way to make the required weight.
To be honest with you, man, let Terence Crawford live. That's his weight class.
Okay.
I lost interest in 168 a long time ago. I mean, I know that we could get offered a lot of money to go down to 168, but I'm more comfortable.
In fact, Turki Al-Sheikh even posted that David can still make 168, so don't be surprised if Crawford versus Benavidez comes together next year, because when Turki is involved, anything is possible, and with Crawford's sharp, quick boxing going up against Benavidez's strong, aggressive power, it sets up a fight that blends smart tactics with pure intensity.
When we think about anybody at 168 outside of Canelo, the first name that comes to anybody's mind is David Benavidez. What about the potential for a fight like that?
Oh, like I said, man, that's a big dude. You know what I mean? He ain't even at 168. When you look...
Right, not now. It's at 175, yeah.
He probably can't even make 168 no.
The stakes are huge, with legacy on the line for one fighter and a chance to make a bold statement for the other, all backed by major attention and strong pay-per-view potential. And if promoters pull this together, expect an intense training camp, strict focus on weight, and a fight night no boxing fan will want to miss. So stay alert, because this could go from talk to reality faster than expected.
Social media asking if David Benavidez is still capable of making it down to 168. Now, we're not sure if this little tease that Turki made was targeted as a hint for a future fight between Crawford and Benavidez, or Canelo versus...
Just as the hype around Crawford versus Benavidez started building, Blue Blood Sports TV stepped in with a blunt reality check for David Benavidez, pointing out that he can't label Crawford an opportunist when he was the one strongly chasing a fight with Canelo. And honestly, it makes sense, because you can't switch your narrative just because you came close but didn't get the spotlight.
It achieved is massive compared to yourself that people say technically should have been at 175. So you cannot discredit Terence Crawford and say he's an opportunist, because this is the same version of Canelo Alvarez that you wanted to fight. And you would have wanted to get all the credit in the world for beating this Canelo, and you wouldn't have wanted to hear people talk about you as an opportunist and you fought a version of Canelo Alvarez that was...
David Benavidez spent years chasing Canelo across different weight classes and calling for that fight again and again. But now that Terence Crawford has secured it, he's acting like that version of Canelo isn't the same. Which doesn't sit right, because you can't dismiss something after someone else gets the chance. And while it's true Benavidez deserved that opportunity earlier and World Boxing Council politics didn't help his case, taking shots at Crawford now just feels like unnecessary.
That's nasty work, bro. And you one of my guys, you know that. And shouts out to your father and your brother. Don't let these people put batteries in your back for you to discredit Terence Crawford's victory. Don't let it happen, bro. We know a disservice was done to you. We know you should have been got the Canelo Alvarez fight. We already know that. But don't say this was a washed-up version of Canelo Alvarez, because you would have accepted this same...
The truth is, Terence Crawford did what others wouldn't, stepping up 21 pounds to face a fighter many stayed away from. And if David Benavidez really plans to return to 168 for that matchup, that's a bold move and deserves respect. But until it actually happens, it's important to recognize that Crawford has already shifted the landscape of the sport, and whether people support him or not. He made history, with the only real opportunism being his perfect timing that made everyone else seem a step behind.
Would have fought the same version of Canelo Alvarez and expected all the credit in the world. So you can't discredit Terence Crawford and say his fight and beating him was
Just when the buzz around Bud versus Benavidez was picking up, things took a wild turn as Team Terence Crawford reportedly put a $100 million price tag on his next fight, which sounds less like a person, more like hitting the jackpot. And while everyone respects Bud's greatness, that number raises eyebrows because unless there's massive backing from places like Riyadh, it's hard to see who's actually willing to pay that, making the whole situation feel more like a bold statement than a realistic deal.
What Bernie of Team Crawford said, right? He says, quote, "I think Terence Crawford is done. If it ain't $100 million to go down and fight those guys like Janabek, Erislandy Lara, and Carlos Adames, let them guys do all the hard work." $100 million? What you think you got? Kelsey Grammer? Chelsea Clinton?
But let's be honest, this move clearly says he's done it all in boxing and now wants to be paid like a true legend. And it makes sense after Terence Crawford dominated Canelo and started to feel untouchable, but asking for $100 million to fight names like Janabek or Carlos Adams feels less like a normal fight deal and more like a high-end fantasy. Still, you have to respect the mindset because Bud is basically saying if he steps into the ring again, it has to be for generational money or he's happy sitting on the wealth he's already built. And honestly, that's hard to argue with since he's earned that position, and now it's up to the boxing world to decide if they're willing to meet that price.
You know, I'm not mad at it. Crawford's team, they want $100 million. You know, Crawford needs $100 million to perform or to get back in the ring, or he might retire. Then, in my opinion, if that is your real asking price, you might have to retire because no one needs to see a Canelo rematch and fights like Lara, Janabek.
Right after Terence Crawford dropped the $100 million news, he shared the full backstory of how the Canelo fight even started, and it's wild. Turns out it wasn't just a money play. It was Bill Haney, Devin's dad, who suggested going after Canelo way before Crawford faced Spence, and in the gym, but initially thought Canelo was huge, but then noticed they were actually the same height, and that's when the idea clicked.
Crawford Spence won. He said, man, don't even stop chasing Errol Spence. He was like, man, the guy to focus and chase is Canelo. Really? He was like, man, you can beat him. He was like, man, Spence, Canelo. And like every time I see him.
And that's what sets Bud apart. He's fueled by belief, not ego, studying Canelo's style like it was a master plan, and Bill Haney's advice clearly made an impact, because when Canelo's team said Crawford doesn't sell, Bud's response was basically, fine, then don't mention me. I'm the draw now, showing his classic approach. Calm on the outside, but you know once he steps in the ring, he's ready to take care of business.
I'm like, all right, we the same height, around the same size. Like, he a little thicker, okay. I'm starting to look into it now because he already planted the seed, but now I'm like looking into it. Like, let me see what Bill look at now, what he see. So I'm, oh, okay. This is what he talking about. Cause he like, man, he's not a big dude. He just kept saying he's not a big dude and you can beat him. And then when I looked into it, I'm like, damn, Bill right.
And just when you thought the Canelo story couldn't get crazier, the behind-the-scenes details are next level. Bud spent 9 hours in Saudi in a back room, surrounded by people speaking another language, texting, calling, whispering, while he just wanted to speak to Turkey, but they wouldn't allow it, saying Turkey might go easy on him, and that moment makes it clear, Bud isn't your average fighter. He runs his business like the CEO of Team Crawford, handling negotiations himself without lawyers or middlemen, holding his ground for 9 hours until both sides leave partially satisfied and partially frustrated.
They not budging, I'm not budging. I'm in that mug like this. I'm like,
by yourself?
By myself. And they like, they calling Turkey. He's not. they talking in their language and texting, and we going back.
That's when you know it's serious. When Bud said it wasn't exactly the deal they wanted or the deal he wanted, but it's done, you could see the strategy click. He didn't just lock in a fight, he secured his legacy, and as for anyone saying Crawford did it for money, stop. Bud himself said, who fights for free? He's right. None of US would, so why should he? After being underestimated, sidelined, and told he doesn't sell, he's now negotiating across continents, chasing greatness like it owes him, showing that Bud isn't just facing opponents in the ring. He's challenging systems, narratives, and time itself, and he's still winning every round.
You know what I mean? Like, you can see Turkey when you get the deal done. And I'm like, oh, man, listen, y'all talk about it ain't making sense.
Yeah.
You know
Did you have a number though?
Yeah.
Or you kind of had a number like, I want to be in this range,
Yeah,
right here.
I had a number and it was just like, they like, man, listen, we gonna have to talk. so we all in that motherfucker for like, you know what I mean, 9 hours, dog.
9 hours, bro.
I'm telling you, I'm
straight.
Here's the crazy part. Crawford versus Benavidez isn't just a fight, it's a full-on power showdown in boxing's new era. Legacy against youth, skill versus raw aggression, pride on the line, whether it's at 168 or 175, both chasing the next big challenge, and the question is who wants it more, Bud, still hungry after beating Canelo, or Benavidez, ready to prove he's more than the guy who missed a shot? Either way, the world is watching, and if Turki Al Sheikh drops that massive check, it's game on, technician or monster, who takes it?